Hi everyone, this is Bolong here. So today the team's got me to sit down in this room and go through some customer reviews that the team has collected over the last 1 or 2 weeks. Quite excited about them. We have some of these reviews in a construction helmet that we typically use for site. Yeah, and without further ado, I'm gonna get started with the first one. So the first one here we have from Jerome. I remember Jerome was one of our earlier quotes comparison customers when we first started out as a business. He says here, I would like to thank Bolong for being very helpful and very friendly throughout my solar journey. Right, that you were extremely informative and managed to answer any queries that I had. When we first started out the quotes comparison business, one of the things that we realized in the market was really that when solar is a product that is new to most customers, people had a lot of queries, right? Not knowing kind of which installers are the best in the market, who to trust, how solar works. Yeah, he also mentioned, I remember the time you helped me negotiate with contractors to ensure that I have a solar panel system that was both practical in design, right, as well as high quality. And of course, I think one of the things that we really emphasized is to kind of be like a solar advisor side by side with a customer across their journey, right, answering any questions that they have. So really happy to kind of see customers appreciate that part of the process. We often try and really kind of go above and beyond to advise them on what kind of equipment is the best for them, shading considerations on their roof, and frankly at some point in time, or in some cases even telling customers that it might not be the right time for them, right, because potentially their roofs are too small. Yeah, I mean, so thanks Jerome, thanks for the feedback. Next in this helmet we have Brendan saying we really appreciated that you were not pushy throughout the process and extremely informational. Brendan was also one of our quotes comparison customer. I remember when we first met Brendan, we took a look at his property from Google Maps, right, and his roof looked extremely old. And so we also then even had a conversation around whether or not solar was right for him at that point in time. I think it was a couple months later when he then reached out again. Initially, our recommendation was actually, to maybe hold off on it until he does any kind of like re-roofing works. Right, a couple months later, he actually did call us up to tell us that, hey, they are intending to change their roof out to a metal roof, and it was really at the point in time that kind of we encouraged him to pursue solar, to kind of help him scope out what kind of solutions are best in the market for him. So it says, thank you for being so patient during our installation, especially when our internal renovator went bankrupt and had to delay our renovation. I do remember this as well, Brendan. Thanks a lot for the kind words. Well, next up, in this bucket we have Patricia, Madam Ong and Mr. Ong. I remember they were maybe one of our first 20 or 30 rent-to-own customers. She mentions the service was good, the installation was good, and the price was good. So in our rent-to-own models, we essentially, instead of having customers pay a really hefty upfront fee, allow customers to pay off their solar system over like a 5 or 10 year period, right? While we also cover all kinds of repairs, maintenance, and servicing. So I guess that might be the reason why she says kind of like the price is good, right? Of course, with like a lower upfront fee. She says, Bolong even took the extra mile to connect me with previous customers to talk to so I can gain a better understanding of how it's like to be a solar homeowner in Singapore. Actually, with Mr. and Mrs. Ong, I remember when I first met them, they were telling me that even when they designed their home about maybe 10 years ago, they had in mind kind of a design to install solar on. So the profile of their roof, the way that you access the roof, a lot of these were already extremely well thought out. But to them then at that point in time, like costs were too high, right? And it's really over the last 1 year or so that they more seriously considered moving ahead with solar. But of course, even for a customer to have been thinking about solar for 10 years, for everyone who's a first-time solar owner, naturally, I think there are a lot of questions which come up in your minds, right, around maintenance, whether or not like the system might fail, right? Because after all, a rooftop solar system is a long-term investment. So with Mr. and Mrs. Ong, we actually connected them to quite a few other customers that we had around their neighborhood I remember they also then went up to them and have a conversation to really learn more about it. And we're really glad to see this community of solar homeowners building up in Singapore over time and being helpful to each other as well. Overall, she says, I'm really happy that our solar system has brought us more joy into our life and haven't given us any problems so far. Glad to hear that as well. Thanks, Ms. Zong. The next review we have here from Jean. She says, from the get-go, he was extremely patient in answering and clarifying any questions that I had, especially because she was very new to solar, right, and unsure where she could get more information about installing solar in Singapore. So fun fact actually, with most of our customers, a large majority of them discover us by typically searching about solar on Google. As a company, as we've been building up over the last 3 years, one of the main emphasis that we have in the market is really to try and drive more transparency and awareness, right? Help people learn more about solar, and so you'll typically see a lot of our online content on our website, on our blogs, with help guides, with tips and tricks, right, of how to assess a solar system. I'm happy to hear, it's really useful for customers as well. For Jean, she mentioned that to date, solar system has been working very well, never looked back at getting solar. I think one of the really interesting things is that while a lot of customers that we speak with usually have quite a lot of concerns around getting solar before they get started, I really haven't seen a case where someone has gotten solar and regretted it at this point. Really because it ultimately is just a cheaper way of getting electricity. I'm a very happy customer, thank you, Bolong. Thanks Jean for your trust and support in us as well. Next up we have Kenny. So we mostly spoke with Kenny's dad through the installation process, but also then worked with Kenny quite a bit to solve some issues that he had with his roof and his house. We thoroughly went through all the payment plans and ensured that he was fully informed during the installation process and before they bought into anything. She also then mentioned, even when I had to remove my solar water heating system and faced leaking issues, you immediately got me in touch with a waterproofing company, which was extremely thorough and make sure that my roof would not leak again. So we do have quite a bit of customers who typically have older kind of solar water heater systems on their rooftops. Some of these are older technologies which at some point in time might not be working out as well. So in Kenny's case, actually, we did recommend for them to first remove the rooftop solar water heater, which then allows them more roof area to install kind of like the newer technology of rooftop solar panels as well. Sometimes, in this removal process, it could cause issues. And so when that happened, then we actually did kind of also recommend him some waterproofing contractor to try and get those issues resolved before we started on with the installation. Okay, so now we're close to the end of the reviews. We have 2 more here. The next one here is from Mr. Goh. So Mr. Goh is actually a good friend's dad. Doing installations for friends and family is always a little bit stressful to make sure that everything runs perfectly. But here he says, thank you Bolong for being so patient with me during the installation process. He might be being humble here, but he says, I'm not someone who's as IT savvy as you guys, so things like uploading documents for solar installation was something that I needed a lot of help with, and you're really patient in guiding me through the process of that, and I'm appreciative of your help. I think one of the things, as we speak a lot about kind of making it as simple as possible for all property owners to get solar, as a tech-enabled company, a lot of our processes are typically online. But we're also conscious that a digital kind of self-service model might be simpler, might be more convenient for some of our customers, but for some others, it's also important for us to really kind of guide them through side by side across the process, right? So for Mr. Goh, for example, I spent quite a bit of time with him explaining to him how solar works at his place. And finally, I think now we have our last review here from Desmond. So I remember Desmond was actually a referral from one of our first 10 rent-to-own customers, right? Ultimately, at this point in time, we've done 3 solar installs in that neighborhood itself. Desmond says, thank you for answering the many questions I had about solar. I had multiple concerns over upfront cost, the reliability of systems, maintenance costs, frequency and price, as well as the kind of cost savings I could actualize. As a company, I mean, one of the things when we talk about kind of building education and awareness, trust and transparency in the process of getting solar, we do actually also really try and have our cost estimations on solar systems be as accurate as possible, right? Taking into account the energy usage patterns of our different customers to kind of like help them model out their long-term savings in an as accurate as possible way. And this is one of the things that we really emphasize and value to help customers understand kind of what to expect, right, once they get a rooftop solar system on their roof. So it's really, really good to hear kind of customers valuing that part of the process as well. And this is all that we're reviewing today.
Okay, actually before we end the video, we have two special guests that want to bring into the video today. Yeah, I'll grab them shortly. Yeah.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
What are we going to do?
Okay, 所以我会问你几个问题了。第一个问题是起初波龙他决定要开自己的生意的时候，你们有什么样的反应？
没有，一向来无论是做生意还是跟人家做工，他都是一直做工，所以只要前途不错的话，我们还是会支持的啦。
其实他这3年来他做的工他做了很多了，然后到现在为止他帮了接近200个人装太阳板。就是等于在新加坡种2万多棵树了。然后除了这个之外，你们也知道，他也明年打算把那个生意发展到国外去。你们对这些数目有什么反应吗？
我觉得还是不够咯。因为据我向他知道，才不到5%嘛，没有5%嘛，对不对？
你们知道他开这个生意的原因吗？为什么他要做太阳板？
他就是要救这个世界咯，这是他所说的啦。因为你看他也为了这个要救这个世界，他尽量少或者没有吃那个红肉，对不对？所以
他只吃只鸡肉而已。对，这些。最后的问题就是，有什么鼓励的话要跟博龙说的吗？
就遇到了，因为最主要是整个团队要合作了，要一起把这个生意拉上来。他回家还是在 office， 我认为他就是一直在做工。这个希望他对于自己的身体要多照顾了。但是说鼓励的话，就是希望身体会越来越多了。这个鼓励还是不是单单给他了，要给整个公司的团队。但是我们觉得Solar这个生意是可以做的，因为都知道有那个 carbon footprint，所以 keep it up， 就是这样了。
是永远支持你们的哈。除了工作之外，就是要好好照顾自己的身体啦。那么就是只要他做得开心，说他每次做这样，我有压力，不过我做得开心，那就 OK。